Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, it's finally a Friday, and today lots of crime with episodes of This Is Your FBI, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, Dragnet, Gangbusters, and Claudia, and a real heartbreaker. We thank you for joining us on this Friday, 12th day of July, 194th day of the year, 172 days remaining. 1543, England's King Henry VIII married his sixth and last wife, Catherine Parr. In 1690, Protestant William of Orange defeated Roman Catholic James II at the Battle of the Boyne in Ireland. Congress authorizing the Medal of Honor on this date in 1862. It was on this date in 1960 the first Etch-a-Sketch went on sale.
Still tied score. And here's the tie-breaking question for Penella with her magic Etch-a-Sketch and her opponent Maximilian with his magnetic Magnasticks. Ready? Draw or build the biggest animal in the jungle. It's the elephant. They're both right. How do they do it? Etch-a-Sketch draws and writes like magic. Turn the knobs and the lines go up and down and all around. No crayons, no chalks, never any mess. Turn Etch-a-Sketch upside down and shake and everything disappears. Magnasticks builds things magnetically. No nails, no screws, no messy glue. You get over 100 pieces to make trains, planes, animals, dolls, and pretty designs. Develop artistic and scientific skills with Etch-a-Sketch and Magnasticks. They're kid-tested toys from the Ohio Art Company. Hi-yo!
I had forgotten about the magnetic sticks. I never had any of those. But the Etch-a-Sketch was amazing. I was an expert at making stairs. I really was. I made those stairs all day long. I don't know how people do all of this amazing artwork on Etch-a-Sketches. But they did, and they still do. Etch-a-Sketch, first one going on sale back on this date 64 years ago. Back in 1967, an incident of police brutality in Newark led to 6 days of rioting there beginning on this date in 1967.
Now moving forward up Springfield Avenue in Newark. We're just going past an upset and burned car in the midst of Springfield Avenue, one of the main thoroughfares in this part of Newark. Police cars, probably 50 policemen led by a shotgun squad now moving right up the intersection. 2 and 3 men with a shotgun dropping off at each corner. I see looted stores on all sides. One, a clothing store, has mannequins grotesquely misshapen now.
The 6 days of rioting, looting, and destruction left 26 dead and hundreds injured. In 1984, Democrat presidential nominee Walter Mondale became the first major party candidate to choose a woman as his running mate.
Today, I'm delighted to announce that I will ask the Democratic Convention to nominate Geraldine Ferraro of New York to run with me for the White House.
Ferraro, a congresswoman from the Queens, had served for 7 years at the time of nomination. Later, she would seek the Senate twice, but failed against both Al D'Amato and Chuck Schumer. She would pass of cancer in 2011 at the age of 75. In 2007, Army Apache helicopters performed airstrikes in Baghdad. Footage from the cockpit would later be leaked to the internet. Among those passing on this date in history, the first Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, also actor Lon Chaney Jr., singer-songwriter Minnie Riperton, journalist John Chancellor, White House Press Secretary Tony Snow, Sherwood Schwartz, the man behind so many delightful TV shows, including Gilligan's Island, and the wife of John Travolta, actress and model Kelly Preston. Birthdays on this date include Henry David Thoreau, the writer-philosopher, also inventor George Eastman, botanist George Washington Carver, soprano Kirsten Flagstad, also architect Buckminster Fuller, lyricist Oscar Hammerstein II, comedian Milton Berle, actor-comedian Joe DeRita, also pianist Van Cliburn, Fleetwood Mac's Christy McVeigh, and actor Jay Thomas, all born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
She won an Emmy Award for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Rachel Brosnahan is 34. WWE's Sami Zayn is 40. Also, Michelle Rodriguez from Girl Fight, Fast and Furious, and Resident Evil. Michelle Rodriguez is 46. Also, MMA fighter and pro wrestler Brock Lesnar, 47. Gregory Helms, the Hurricane, is 50 years old today. Olympic gold medal figure skater Christy Yamaguchi is 53. Gospel singer Sandy Patty, 68. From Charlie's Angels, Cheryl Ladd is 73. Fitness trainer Richard Simmons is 76. The man who sang about Magnet and Steel, Walter Egan, is 76. And yeah, I understand he wasn't a good man. He still isn't. He may be. I don't know. But Bill Cosby, 87 years old today.
I started out as a child and grew up in the streets of Philadelphia playing street football and everything. And a marvelous time. And let me tell you about my pair of shoes. The first pair of shoes I ever had that I played football in, street football. We didn't have any sneakers. There was only one kid in our neighborhood that had a pair of sneakers. His name was Rudy. I'll never forget it. Rudy came running by us so fast. I said, what was that? I said, I don't know. It was something fast. And he came up. How you doing, gang? How's everything? It's good to see you. What do you got on? I got on sneakers. See that? They make you run fast. You can run, stop on a dime. I give you 9 cents change. And I can keep going. Hey, you see these little rubber balls on the side there? Yeah, well, they keep me from making sparks, setting my pants on fire because I run so fast,
Bill Cosby, 87 years old today. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 12th day of July as their birthday. And if this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the 4 freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And on this Friday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we're going to start off 78 years ago, July 12, 1946, an episode of This Is Your FBI for the Equitable Life Assurance Society and Death in the Tropics. That's up first here on this Friday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
There's an issue cutting through the partisanship in Congress. It's AM radio. The overwhelming majority of legislators, Democrats and Republicans, support a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to the floor for a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Please take a moment and do that if you would, please. It'd be greatly appreciated. Free radio is the only way to get breaking news and information. Now, on this Friday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we go back 78 years, July 12th, 1946. The Equitable Life Assurance Society program, This Is Your FBI, J. Edgar Hoover's favorite show. And I'll pull some of that out again to talk about that briefly at the end of the show. This episode entitled Death in the Tropics.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society presents This Is Your FBI. This is Your FBI, an official broadcast from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, presented as a public service by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community. Are you one of the 50 million Americans covered by Social Security? Well, there may be a pleasant surprise in store for you. In a few minutes, you'll learn from our sponsor, the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States, how easy it is to build Social Security into full security. Tonight's FBI file, Death in the Tropics.
The familiar adage has it that the best laid schemes of mice and men ofttimes go astray. To which we might add, while those of criminals inevitably go astray. One of the most monstrous criminals of all times, Adolf Hitler, was defeated by the inexorable truth of this. And day after day, lesser criminals, such as those in tonight's case from the files of your FBI, are likewise vanquished by it. For the evil schemes of men are as fragile as the minds which create them, and they crush like eggshells against the rock-ribbed eternity of justice. In a rather lavish apartment in Midtown Manhattan, a young woman is just admitting a guest. He is one Dan Ogden, junior partner of the firm of Durant and Ogden, specialists in interstate commerce. Hijacking.
Come in, Dan.
Thanks, Millie. Where's Jack?
Inside, getting dressed.
Oh.
Want a drink?
No, thanks, baby.
Well, tonight's the night, huh?
Yep.
What's the setup?
Pretty big job.
Uh-huh.
Nearly 4,000 cases of bonded whiskey.
Hey,
Got to knock off 4 trucks.
it's really a tough order.
We got it all laid out. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Shouldn't be any trouble.
How much cash will that stuff bring?
A real bundle.
Oh, that I like.
Hey, Millie, where's that, Oh, how are you, Danny?
Hello, Jack.
I'm glad you stopped by here, kid. I got something I want to spring on you and Millie both.
What are you looking for, Jack?
That big brown envelope
It's right there on the table.
Oh, yeah, good. There's, something in here I want to show you.
What is it?
Pictures.
Huh?
Now, sit down, both of you.
What is it?
Sit down, will you?
Okay.
Look, Danny, when you and I started in business together, we agreed that if either one of us wanted to pull out sometime, he could. Remember?
Yeah?
Well, tonight's my last job.
What?
Are you kidding?
I got plenty of letters packed away for me and Millie, and we're going to get out of this larceny business for good.
What are you talking about?
Here you are, baby. Take a look at this picture.
What's this?
It's a banana plantation.
So?
Yep. I bought it a month ago.
What do you know from bananas?
That's your favorite dish, ain't it? Bananas and cream for breakfast?
Yeah,
So
but
you got a whole plantation of them to go against.
Where is this joint?
Puerto Rico.
that's in Africa.
Look, honey, it's only 1,400 miles from here. It's right under Florida. Any geography would tell you that.
It's still Africa.
Okay. Anyway, sweetheart, we're leaving on a boat in the morning, and then on we're living like dukes and duchesses. How's it sound to you?
Well,
What do you think about it, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's swell.
Sure. And so will you, Millie, when you get to thinking about it.
Hmm.
Hey, wait a minute. Look at the time. I got to go and case that warehouse where they're loading the trucks. I'll pick you up here in 30 minutes, Dan. And look, build Millie up on Puerto Rico when I'm gone, will you?
Yeah, okay.
See you later.
Well, sweetheart,
He thinks I'm going to Puerto Rico. He's nuts.
wants you to leave in the morning.
Yeah. What are we going to do, Dan? You got to think of something quick.
Does the idea appeal to you? Puerto Rico? Plantation? Living safe and easy?
Not without you, and you know it.
Okay, baby. Then I've already thought of something.
What do you mean?
I mean, it was real nice of Jack to buy that plantation. For you and me?
Huh?
He wants to retire? Okay, I'll see to it tonight that he does retire. For keeps.
At 2:30 a.m., Ralph Gardner, an assistant to the agent in charge of the New York office of the FBI, received a report that 4 motor freight trucks carrying 4,000 cases of bonded liquor had been hijacked. It is now a few minutes before 7 a.m. Gardner has just received a report from an agent on the case.
Yeah. Well, Rankin, that's 3 of the empty trucks accounted for anyway.
Who was that, Jackson?
Yeah.
All I can say is those hijackers sure had this job organized beautifully.
Well, even so, they had to work plenty fast to unload those trucks and then abandon them way out on the number 1 highway.
Funny about that 4th truck. Why hasn't that one shown up?
Well, we ought to hear about it soon. Every highway patrol in 3 states is alerted now.
Any clues from the other 3 trucks?
None.
You know, this has got all the earmarks of that job over in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Philadelphia office hasn't cracked that case yet either, has it?
No, not yet.
Could be the same gang.
Excuse me.
Oh, sure.
Gardner speaking.
This is the New Jersey State Police, Mr. Gardner.
Oh, hello. What's up?
One of our motorcycle men just phoned in. He found one of those trucks in a ditch on a back road.
Good. That's the last one.
That is, he found what's left of it. Also, the charred body of a man.
What?
The truck had caught fire some way, and the fellow must have been trapped in the cab.
Did the officer find any identification at all?
He thought he'd better report this much first. He's gone back to the spot now to wait for you fellas.
All right, then if you'll give me the location, Special Agent Rankin will be on his way in a couple of minutes.
Well, sweetheart, better take a good long look at that skyline. Maybe the last time we ever see it.
Suits me fine, Danny.
You know, it's too bad I didn't get Jack out of our way a long time ago. This is really living.
Danny. You don't think there's any possible...
What?
Nothing. I just want everything to be all right for us.
Look, baby, let me tell you what happened.
No, I don't want to know.
But if I tell you, you'll see for yourself. You got nothing to worry about. Now, this is the way it went. Georgie Fresno was driving Jack's truck last night, the one he hijacked. I had it fixed with Georgie. Out of town somewhere, he gives Jack a tap with the masher, ditches the truck, and sets fire to it.
Oh.
What the cops find looks like an accident.
But are you sure, Georgie?
Georgie's done jobs for me before. He's never missed yet.
I sure hope you're right.
Look, baby, we better break this up now.
Why?
You're supposed to be making this trip with your husband, remember?
But I told the purser my husband was detained at the last minute on business.
We still better be strangers till we hit San Juan. That purser might start thinking something and remember it later.
Well, maybe you're right.
Happy sailing, sweetheart. I'll see you in San Juan.
Sorry I was so long getting back, Gardner.
What'd you find out?
For one thing, the truck catching on fire wasn't any accident.
What?
The body wasn't charred enough to hide the mark of a blow on the head.
Oh?
So, there must have been somebody else inside that truck, too.
Could you identify the body?
Yeah. Signet ring was still on his left little finger. The initials J.D. And his leather wallet that had dropped out on the floor of the cab had an identification card. Jack Durant.
Jack Durant?
Yeah. Unless I'm mistaken, he's got a record of...
Hey, wait a minute, Rankin.
Yeah?
Right after you tore out of here, the Philadelphia office called. They'd got a lead on that Pennsylvania hijacking 2 weeks ago.
Yeah?
The same Jack Durant.
Wow.
I sent Jackson out to pick up Durant at his apartment. His packed bags were still there, but his wife and her bags were gone.
Then she must have already heard what happened.
No, there's more to it than that.
What do you mean?
Well, apparently they'd planned to skip the country after this job last night.
Oh?
So we made a fast check on all transportation out of New York, and we found out that Durant had booked passage for himself and wife on a boat which sailed for Puerto Rico 2 hours ago.
Yeah, but with Durant dead, his wife probably changed her mind.
Mildred Durant sailed anyway.
Then we better radio the ship to keep her in custody.
Well, what can we hold her for? We've no evidence that she's mixed up in any crime.
I know.
No, let's try to round up Durant's gang first. And if we find anything against his wife, we can have the San Juan office pick her up. Or better, we can fly down there ourselves and bring her back.
Millie?
Yeah, honey.
You may not know it, baby, but according to our little map here, all these banana trees we've been passing for the last 10 minutes belong to us.
No kidding.
All we need now is cows for cream and you're in clover.
Yeah.
Hey, Millie, look.
What?
Where we're driving up to. Look.
Oh, damn it.
That's our house, baby.
I always dreamed about having a joint like that. I just can't believe it.
Well, we're pulling up and taking over right now.
Oh, it's swell.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we got a lot to be thankful to Jack for at that.
Oh, please, Dan.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. Come on. Give me a hand.
Okay. Oh, gee, I can't wait to see inside. Let's hurry, huh?
Okay.
Open the door quick.
Hey, don't need the key. It's not locked. In you go, baby. Hey, what a touch.
Gee, it's wonderful. Real wonderful.
Glad you like it, Mel.
Jack.
That's right, pal.
Can't be.
No?
Well, we thought that is a...
Sure. I know what you thought. It's too bad for you. It didn't work out that way.
Jack, wait. Jack.
So long.
Wait a minute, Jack. Give me a chance to explain.
Daddy.
Welcome to your new home, sweetheart.
We will return in just a moment to tonight's case, which shows how your FBI helps provide national security. Now let's listen in on a conversation about Social Security between a brand new father named Steve Brownell and his friend, the Equitable Society representative.
Boy, that's one husky-looking kid. Weighs 8 pounds, and he looks just like me. Here, have a cigar.
Thanks. Say, your wife doing all right?
Just fine, Carl, just fine.
Well, Steve, since my business is representing the Equitable Society, I ought to tell you that you now have the equivalent of $9,500 more life insurance than you had yesterday. And it hasn't cost you 1 red cent extra.
Huh? $9,500 more insurance? How come?
Well, it's from your old Uncle Sam. Your benefits under Social Security go up now that there's 3 in your family. Having this baby gives you about $9,500 of extra insurance protection through Social Security.
Say, I never knew Social Security was worth all that money to me.
Yes, Steve, many Americans don't realize what a wonderful asset they have in Social Security. They've never discovered how easy it is to build Social Security into full security through life insurance with the Equitable Society. For instance, if you already own some life insurance, your Equitable Society man may be able to show you how only a few dollars extra per month will give your family complete protection through the Equitable Extended Income Plan. Remember, your Social Security benefits vary according to your age, salary, and family situation. Why not get the facts? Find out exactly what you're entitled to under Social Security. The government has prepared a special card that'll help you secure this information. To obtain one of these cards, get in touch with your Equitable Society representative or send your name and address on a postcard to the Equitable Society, care of this station. That's EQUITABLE, the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. now back to the FBI file, Death in the Tropics.
Yes, the evil schemes of men are as fragile as the minds which create them, and they crush like eggshells against the rock-ribbed eternity of justice. Thus far in tonight's case, the criminal plot of one man, Dan Ogden, has been shattered by the spouting gun of the man he schemed against, the gangster hijacker Durant. As for Durant's plan to flee justice himself, well, other events bearing on that are already in motion. Shortly after Dan Ogden walked into his death at the plantation cottage, FBI agents Gardner and Rankin from New York landed at the Isla Grande airport on San Juan and proceeded to the local office of the FBI. At this moment, Gardner has about finished bringing the San Juan agent in charge, Houston, up to date on the case.
So it seems pretty conclusive that the man slugged and burned in the truck was Jack Durant, all right?
And you think his wife might be mixed up in it?
Well, we don't know that, Houston, but we've got good reason to believe that she didn't make the trip here alone.
And how's that?
We checked the passenger list again in New York just before catching the plane, and we ran into the name of one of Durant's gang, Dan Ogden.
Oh?
There could have been a romance there between Ogden and Durant's wife.
And Ogden got Durant out of the way?
He could have. Have you uncovered anything yet?
No. When I got your cable this morning, I started a man investigating to see if Durant had bought any property on the island. But so far, nothing's turned up. This may be my man now. He's been over at the Hall of Records for the last 2 hours. Houston speaking.
I think I found what you want, Houston.
Yeah? What is it?
Well, a real estate broker acting for a man in New York named Durant bought a banana plantation about a month ago.
Well, get the location of the place quick, Fred. And then get back over here and drive Gardner and Rankin out there.
Now, look, Jack, you gotta believe me. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Stop lying.
But I tell you...
Stop lying, I said.
I got a right to tell my side of it.
I already know it.
Okay, then, if you're satisfied with what you think you know, kill me. Go ahead.
All right. Let's hear your story.
This is the truth, so help me.
Go on.
Well, when you didn't come back from that job by the time morning came, I was scared stiff.
Yeah?
Yeah. And Dan come to the apartment all in a lather and said something had gone wrong. And you were plenty hot with the cops right then.
Is that a fact?
Yeah. And he said that you told him to get me on the boat and to come on down here with me to look after me until you had cooled off and could make it here yourself.
No kidding.
Honest, I didn't want to go off and leave you, but if you thought it was best, there wasn't anything else for me to... Jack, it's the truth, every word I'm saying. Don't you believe me?
Georgie Fresno got cold feet about knocking me off, Mill, and told me the whole story.
I don't care what Georgie
I
Fresno
do.
told...
Is the way it turned out. You and Danny done me a big favor.
What do you mean?
As far as the cops are concerned, Jack Durant is a dead man.
What?
I did to Georgie Fresno what he was supposed to do to me. Then I fixed it so the cops would think he was me. But then I grabbed a plane and come on down here to be on hand to greet you and Danny when you arrived to set up housekeeping.
Listen,
Shut
Jack.
up. Since you and Danny done me such a big favor, now I'm going to do you one. I'm going to let you go ahead and keep house with Danny. Only I might have a little trouble explaining to the cops why he has to lie down all the time. You know I couldn't have been the cause of it. Remember? I'm dead.
Jack, come back, you can't...
So long, sucker. And enjoy the banana.
you'd come.
I beg your pardon. Are you Mildred Durant?
Who are you?
We're special agents of the FBI.
FBI?
That's right.
Well, what do you want here? I mean, what have you... Oh, all right. You might as well come on in.
Thank you. Go ahead, Rankin.
Thanks.
Now, the reason we're here, Mrs. Durant...
Gardner.
Yeah.
Over there on the floor.
Is that Ogden?
Yeah.
Take a look at him, Rankin.
You don't have to. He's dead. But I didn't do it.
Who did?
Well, I don't suppose you'll believe me when I tell you. But he did it anyway, and he's right here on this island now, no matter what...
Just a minute, Mrs. Durant. Who are you talking about?
My husband.
Your husband? Don't give us that.
Wait a minute, Rankin.
Told you wouldn't believe me.
Well, under the circumstances, it's rather difficult, since our records at the moment show that your husband is dead.
I know the truth about that, too, but you'll believe what you
We
like.
believe only what we know to be a fact, Mrs. Durant.
I'm telling you a fact. My husband, Jack Durant, killed Dan Ogden. He was here in this house not more than 30 minutes before you got here.
I better take that, Rankin. Hello.
This is Houston. That you, Gardner?
Yes, what's wrong?
Just got a radiogram from your office in New York.
Yeah?
That body has been identified positively now, and it's not Durant.
What?
It's the body of one of his men, Georgie Fresno.
We'll be in a few minutes. Thanks.
Right.
Mrs. Durant.
Hmm?
If your husband is not dead, whose body was it that was found burned in the truck?
Georgie Fresno.
Rankin, I believe she's telling us the truth. And I believe your husband is on the island, too, Mrs. Durant. You come with us, and we better hurry. Looks like a storm coming up.
Hey, anybody around here?
What can I do for you, mister?
Want to charter a plane to Cuba.
For when?
When do you think? Now.
Are you kidding?
What do you mean?
You ought to know. You're soaking with it.
What's the matter? You scared of a little rain, are you?
It's not the rain, mister. It's the storm that's going on with it.
Okay, so that raises the price. I'll pay it. I got to get to Cuba now.
I'll take you to Cuba at the regular charter rate. But not until the weather clears. Understand?
Now, look here, you can't...
There's no argument about it. Take it or leave it.
When do you think it'll clear?
Don't last long down here. Maybe an hour or two.
Okay.
Got your identification to get into Cuba?
I've been to Cuba before.
Okay. But I have to have your name, too.
Fresno. George Fresno.
Okay. Take it easy. I'll holler when it's time to take off.
Any trace of him, Houston?
We've checked every hotel in San Juan and all the airlines and steamship offices.
Not booked, huh?
No. So he's probably trying to go under somewhere on the island.
Got the police alerted?
Yeah.
You can charter a plane out of here, can't you?
Well, we checked the only two charter services. Durant's not booked with them either.
Well, at the moment, it looks as if Mr. Jack Durant might as well be dead as far... Hey, wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah?
I got an idea. I think that we might...
Fresno. Mr. Fresno.
Yeah?
You can board the plane now if you want to.
It's about time.
We won't be taking off right away, though.
What? How come?
Well, you might call it a situation over which I have no control.
What do you mean?
He means us, Durant.
What? Who are you?
Special agents of the FBI.
Oh, well, I didn't expect you.
Put down that gun, Durant.
You're staying where you are until we take off around here.
All right, take his gun, Rankin.
Right.
Now, you get up, Durant. We should have spotted you sooner. In fact, we should have known all along you'd be using the name of George Fresno.
Jack Durant was tried for the murders of George Fresno and Dan Ogden and sentenced to the electric chair. Information which the FBI got from Durant before the trial led to the arrest and conviction of all other members of the hijacking gang. Durant's wife was released as no criminal charge could be brought against her. Yes, the familiar adage has it that the best laid schemes of mice and men oft-times go astray. To which we add again, while those of criminals inevitably go astray.
In just a moment, we'll tell you about next week's colorful story from the files of your FBI. And now, friends, let me remind you that no matter how much you earn, you have a valuable asset in Social Security. And your Equitable Society representative will gladly show you how easy it is to build your Social Security into full security. He'll explain to you how Social Security and life insurance can work together for your complete protection and will help you determine exactly where you stand under Social Security. No obligation, of course. Phone him tomorrow. Your Equitable Society representative is listed in your local phone book under the name Equitable. EQUITABLE. The Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States.
Next week, we will bring you another colorful story from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the walkie-talkie stick-ups.
The incidents used in tonight's Equitable Life Assurance Society's broadcast are adapted from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, all names used are fictitious, and any similarity thereof to the names of persons living or dead is accidental. Tonight, the music was composed and conducted by Frederick Steiner, the author was Frank Ferries, and your narrator was Dean Carlton. This is Your FBI is a Jerry Devine production. And now, this is Carl Frank, speaking for the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community, and inviting you to tune in again next week at this same time, when the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States will bring you another colorful story from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The walkie-talkie stick-ups. On This is Your FBI.
This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
J. Edgar Hoover called the show Our Show and said it was the finest dramatic program on the air. It aired from April of 1945 to January of 1953, 409 shows, and yet there were more shows of an unofficial show, the FBI in Peace and War. Still, the show did very well for an ABC program, airing that long a time, sponsored during its entire run by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. Alrighty, this is your FBI, as it was originally broadcast on this date back 78 years ago, July 12th, 1946. Coming up next, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe.
Radio has always been a source of quick, accurate information during a disaster. When you hear the alert signal, tune to these Conelrad frequencies, 640 and 1240 on your regular radio. During a national emergency, all power lines may be temporarily cut off. To make sure you receive the necessary survival information, keep a battery-operated radio in your family shelter. For accurate information and instructions during enemy attack, it's 640 and 1240 on your standard radio.
Last month, we aired an episode of The New Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Van Heflin played Marlowe. It was a summer replacement series for Bob Hope, And today we're going to air an adventure of Philip Marlowe starring Gerald Mohr, which would become the longer-running and more successful of the series, even though this episodes generally were sustaining or unsponsored. The episode ran for 114 episodes from 1948 until September of 1950. And let us listen to The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, Gerald Mohr as the hard-hitting PI from 74 years ago, July 12, 1950, The Iron Coffin.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave. There's no other end, but they never learn.
Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment Raymond Chandler's most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Here's a taste treat you can enjoy indoors, outdoors, at work, or at play. The cool, long-lasting mint flavor refreshes you. The smooth, steady chewing helps keep you fresh and alert. Adds enjoyment to whatever you're doing. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. Now, with Gerald Mohr starred as Philip Marlowe, the makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum are glad to bring you tonight's exciting story, The Iron Coffin.
Dear Sir, I wouldn't touch your proposition with someone else's 10-foot pole. Period. Furthermore, hello?
Would you connect me with Mr. Marlowe, please? Philip Marlowe, the private investigator.
This is Philip Marlowe.
Oh, I'm so glad I caught you. Mr. Marlowe, you've been very highly recommended to me by a very dear friend, and I want to employ your services for a case.
All right, who are you?
I'm Catherine Newbold.
Uh-huh.
It's about my daughter, Irene, or more exactly, about her fiancé. I want you to find him for me. He's 26, dark complexioned, about 5 feet 10, and
Just a minute,
exercises-
Mrs. Newbold. It's a little early for descriptions. What's the nature of his disappearance?
Mr. Marlowe,
Yeah.
I'm afraid I just can't explain over the phone. I'm at the boys' place now. Would you come over here? It's 4220.5 bronze.
42.20.5, huh?
You see, Bennett is lost, and Irene's gone to help him, and she may get lost, too.
Well, how do you mean that, Mrs. Newbold? Lost where?
Back somewhere in the 16th century.
After she hung up, I spent a few minutes trying to decide if I should take along my .38 or a butterfly net. But in spite of what I thought she'd said about the 16th century, I was convinced that Mrs. Newbold was a genuinely worried woman. I'd sold myself on that by the time I hit Bronson Avenue. When I finally found number 4220.5, I began to unsell myself fast. Said 4220.5 was a sagging second floor of a weed-ridden tile and stucco heap on the alley, in back of a dead delicatessen. The windows were heavily shuttered behind rusty iron grills, and the heavy door was set at the top of a narrow flight of unreliable wooden stairs.
Mr. Marlowe, I'm Mrs. Newbold.
Hello. The looks of this place on the outside, holy smoke.
It's rather bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, to say the very least.
These are Bennett Virago's rooms. He's a student.
Of what, alchemy? His place is a museum. Everything in here must date back to the...
Yes, to the 16th century.
That's what you said, yeah.
That's what I meant. Mr. Marlowe, 2 years ago when my daughter met Bennett, he was a nice, normal boy with a great enthusiasm for history.
Uh-huh.
He's brilliant. I liked him, and Irene, of course, fell madly in love with him. But then...
Then what, Mrs. Newbold?
Then it began to change. He was working awfully hard toward his doctor's degree when suddenly he seemed to hit a snag.
How do you mean?
Well, he became obsessed with a particular period in history. Spanish history.
Well, that's not so unusual. That's how guys become specialists.
Oh, but it's more than that. His interest was much more than scholarly. It became a morbid fascination.
Oh?
Look at these relics, Mr. Marlowe.
Yeah.
At first, Bennett only studied them. But in the last year, he began to live with these things exclusively. More and more until he left a month ago. And now, well, I just don't know.
You know, my guess is the boy needs a psychiatrist, not a private detective. Where's he now?
Well, I'm not sure, but this morning a note came from Irene. It was mailed in Santa Barbara 2 days ago, the day she left. She might be with him.
Yeah, but you said you had an idea where they might be.
I do. See this book?
Yeah. It's a castle. Constructed in the year 1540 by Peter the Cruel of Lerma near the present city of Valdemoro. Seized in 1562 after a violent struggle by the Count of Castile. Dominique Virago.
Yes. And look here. I found this old newspaper clipping in that book there.
Uh-huh.
It's about that very castle. It says it was torn down in 1887 by an eccentric millionaire bachelor and rebuilt stone for stone on an isolated part of the California coast known as Point Estero.
Uh-huh.
The man who spent his entire fortune on this single project was Philip Virago.
For Pete's sake.
And that's where they are. They must be.
Well, considering what we started with, that makes sense.
I looked it up, Mr. Marlowe. Point Estero is just above Morro Bay, about 200 miles north of here. Will you go up there and find out what's wrong? I'm awfully worried.
I told her the transplanted castles from Spain were not exactly my cup of tequila. But between the check she handed me and the look in her eyes, I figured a drive along the beach might do me good. Well, I made Santa Barbara by 4, and by 6:30 I was watching the surly Pacific surf hurl itself at the huge granite lump called Morro Rock. Farther north I got, the manner the ocean became. A hulking bank of solid black clouds offshore made a hollow mockery out of daylight savings time. And 20 miles beyond Morro Bay, I had to turn out my lights. By rough calculation, the castle was another 10. But when 11.7 had turned up on the speedometer without so much as a single battlement in view, I decided to turn my lights back on again and stop for some local advice. My first chance was a combination motor court, restaurant, and mobile gas station. Labeled Summit Light, California. L. Chester Poindexter Prop.
Howdy, friend. Bad night to be out on the road, huh? What'll you have?
Yeah, a cup of coffee.
Okay. Driving on up north?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm looking for that old Spanish castle that's along this coast somewhere.
Yeah?
Yeah. Got any idea how I can get there?
You got business there?
Yeah, I might have. Why?
Just wondered. Not a good place, mister. Folks in these parts like to forget it's here.
Oh? What's wrong with it?
Nothing, maybe. Then again, well, it was built 60 years ago by a madman, mister. Brought it over here from Spain, complete, even to the furniture.
So I hear.
They say it belonged to his ancestors, and he brought them, too. Every one of their bodies. Their coffins are down there under that castle right now. 13 of them.
How do you know?
I talked to an old-timer once who helped put that place together. 7 men died on that job. And you know what he told me? One of them coffins is iron, and it's 8 feet long.
You made a great fullback here. Fill it up again, will you?
It ain't funny. They say his name was Peter the Cruel.
Now, look, Chester, you're not lathering yourself up into a ghost story for tourists, are you?
You asked me, and I'm telling you.
All I asked you was how to get there.
You see that light out there? Across the bay and past the breakwater? Wait till she comes around again. There, see it?
Yeah.
That's up on the summit of Point Estero. Well, the castle's just a mile past that. There's not much of a road in, but you can make it.
Okay, thanks.
It's right down next to the water, in a nasty, jagged little cove. Altogether, it's 3 miles from here.
Much obliged.
There's something else you might keep in mind.
Huh?
Like I said, I don't hold with ghosts. But I know for a fact them coffins are sealed in a crypt under that castle. But they don't stay put. They get thrown around. Folks have heard 'em thumping. Good night, friend.
The highway dropped down close to the quiet bay, which was sheltered by the breakwater. And 100 yards out, a white sailboat, its mast pointing straight up at the stars. It made a strange contrast to the pounding surf a mile beyond, where I found the turnoff to the castle. It beat a year's depreciation out of my car in 10 minutes. But finally, at the top of a small rise, I saw it, the Spanish castle. It was a grim, gray mess of crooked walls and twisted towers that crouched on the shore like something that had crawled up from the bottom of the sea. When I pulled to a stop in front of the main gate, I saw there were lights in one of the lower rooms. I started in, and then I saw something else. A girl running down the path toward me.
You there, wait. Please, wait. Oh, you've got to help me. Somebody's going to be killed.
Killed? In there, in the castle?
Yes. Oh, hurry, please.
All right, come on.
Thank heaven I saw your headlights.
I'm glad I found you, Miss Newbold.
How did you know?
I guessed right.
What do you mean?
Well, your mother was pretty sure I'd find you here. I'm a private detective, Philip Marlowe.
Oh.
What's this about somebody being killed?
It's Bennett. He's almost out of his mind, Mr. Marlowe. He's gone down to the crypt under the castle. I tried to stop him, but I couldn't. They're killed down there, just like the others.
Like what others, Irene?
All the other Viragos, all his ancestors. Peter the Cruel will kill him.
Oh, now, just a minute. Come on.
I must sound crazy, too. Maybe I am. It's this horrible place.
Baby, take it easy. This is the age of rocket planes and bebop, remember?
Not in here. Here it's the 16th century.
Oh, settle down. Tell me what's really going on.
I am. Day before yesterday, I was just as skeptical as you are. That's why I came here. But now, Mr. Marlowe, Bennett Virago is fighting a battle that's been going on for 400 years. A battle with a monster called Peter the Cruel.
The one in the oversized iron coffin downstairs?
Yes.
Come on, baby, show me. What I could see in the light of the 4 candles in the holder I picked up I didn't like. She led me first down a long flight of stairs, then through a maze of ponderous arched pillars that made the catacombs seem cozy by comparison. Finally, we stopped in front of a heavy door with an iron ring in it. I hauled it open and almost fell in. We were at the top of a deep circular room, carved from solid bedrock. Stairs that must have been designed by a reckless mountain goat followed the curving wall down to the bottom. There, in the light of a torch stuck in a bracket, a man was working frantically over a big trap door set in the center of the floor. It was Bennett Virago. I told Irene to go back upstairs and wait, and then I started down.
There. Who is it?
Philip Marlowe. I'm a friend of Irene. She told me I'd find you down here.
Get out of here. I refuse to be responsible.
I'll be responsible for me, fella. I'm used to it. Hey, you sure you can't use some help? You look pretty tired.
I'm exhausted. But I'm not going to stop until I've settled this business once and for all. And I won't tolerate any interference. Do you understand?
No. Interference in what?
I'm going to spend the night in the crypt under this door. I've got to know the truth. Listen, if you're really Irene's friend, please take her away into town, that Poindexter's place. She's not safe here. Nobody is. Every document I found verifies it.
Verifies what?
Mr. Marlowe, I'll show you. On one condition. Give me your word that once I'm in there and this door is closed, you'll leave here and take Irene with you. Well?
Okay, Virago, it's a deal. Show me.
All right. Take that crowbar and help me get this open.
Okay.
Tonight I broke the seals that were put on this door 30 years ago. At that time, the coffins were in 3 straight rows.
And now?
I know what I'm going to find. It's happened before.
Hey, Buster, this thing is heavy. You'll never open it from the inside by yourself.
Servant Ramiro has his orders. Get it up in the morning. Quick. Prop it with your bar.
I got it. Well, Virago.
Stay back. Don't move until I get the torch down there. Now. Look.
I saw walls slimy with pale moss. A rotten stone floor scarred with deep fissures. And the coffins that had been in 3 neat rows were scattered in crazy confusion. But that wasn't enough. In the middle of it all was the iron one, 8 feet long, standing right straight up on end.
Now maybe you'll believe me.
Virago, listen, wait a minute. Maybe you better think this over.
You gave me your word.
Yeah, but no kid threw those coffins around like that.
Now you're beginning to understand. Get out, Marlowe. Get out fast. Heaven only knows what might happen here tonight.
To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The lively, full-bodied, real mint flavor cools your mouth, moistens your throat, freshens your taste. And the chewing itself gives you a little lift, helps you keep going at your best. So for real chewing enjoyment that's refreshing and long-lasting, always keep Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. Healthful, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Gum will make every day more enjoyable. Now with our star, Gerald Mohr, the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's exciting story, The Iron Coffin.
I kept telling myself that Virago wasn't in any danger. That this was 1950 and spirits from the 16th century didn't stand a ghost of a chance against a determined man. But I couldn't quite believe it. And things didn't get any cozier as I watched the man with the obsession descend into the crypt. A candle in his hand, casting a crazy chorus of shadow dancers against the dripping wet walls. After the trapdoor crashed shut, I kept holding on tight to the 20th century and things that made it tick. And that helped until I was back up to the basement level.
A moment of your time, please, senor.
A tangle of gray, black, shaggy hair fell all around a grisly old face that could have scared a Halloween mask. And the rest of them fit from a build that included almost no shoulders, ape-long, scrawny arms, and an outfit that was medieval.
I did not mean to alarm you, senor.
Yeah, you couldn't miss. It's so dark in here. You're Ramiro?
Si, Ramiro. I, senor, wait upon the master of this house, even as my father did, and his father before him. Always, senor, Ramiro has been in service in this castle. Always since Peter the Cruel.
You mean you came over here from Spain? You were imported with this castle?
Si, indeed. It had to be that way, senor. None else but Ramiro knows the castle. Every stone, every fixture, every sound in the night. Why, senor, there where you stand, Ramiro stood on that fateful day in the year 1562 when Dominic Virago, the Count of Castile, sentenced Peter the Cruel to his death. Oh, it was an awesome occasion, senor.
I'll bet.
The story of that day lives in my mind as though I had been present. I hear and see it all. Hear and see the fantastic spectacle in this very room. The place lighted by flaming torches. The prisoner was Peter the Cruel. His legs bound in heavy chains and weighted with an iron bar.
Dominic Virago, Count of Castile, do this day proclaim the tyrannical rule of the prisoner before me at an end. And I do further proclaim that the prisoner, Peter the Cruel, be hanged, wearing the shackles and weights of a common thief. And when his body is dead, I order it cut down and sealed in an iron coffin, the chains not removed. Only by right of the royal blood of our father do I allow his remains to be placed in the family crypt below this room. Now, Peter the Cruel, you have heard this sentence. How do you speak?
I speak, dear righteous ruler, very plainly. This the day of my execution is a black day. A black day for you, Dominique Virago, for Castile, for Spain. For in spirit I will not die, not go to the crypt below. In spirit I will not rest until I have had my revenge through all the years that follow this day. This black day. You and your ancestors, beware, Virago. Beware!
Silence! The Count of Castile will reply. Hang him. And that, senor, they did. Hanged him and buried him below us. That is why I stopped you here, to warn you.
Yes, well, tell me, Ramiro, your ancestors, whose side were they on? The Count or Peter the Cruel? Well?
The Ramiro served only one man, senor. The master of the house. Even as I today serve only one man. The master of the house. Good night, senor.
He glared at me for a long moment with sickly yellow eyes. Then he stepped back and was gone. Well, a few minutes later, I found Irene Newbold and told her what had happened at the crypt and of Virago's wish that she spend the night at Poindexter's place. When I saw her make one valiant try to keep from going to pieces, I picked up her coat and bag, held her firmly by the arm, and walked her fast outside into my car. It kept her thinking for a while. When we arrived at Poindexter's, I promised to awaken her at dawn for the return trip to the castle. She thanked me and went to her room, and a few minutes later, I went to mine. After 3 hours of cigarette-filled sleeplessness had gone by, I slipped outside and watched the summit light that winked at me every third second. I didn't wink back. And the sight of El Chester Poindexter standing at the cliff's edge ahead, looking toward the bay below and the long, wide wash of the full moon, didn't help any.
How do, Mr. Marlowe? Trouble sleeping?
Yeah, your local ghost made good. He keeps propping my eyelids open.
And you don't feel up to much smart joking either, huh, Mr. Marlowe?
Poindexter, I'm worried about Virago.
And you should be. That Peter the Cruel was certainly a powerful party.
Oh, nuts to Peter the Cruel. There's another answer. There's got to be.
But you said Virago.
Yeah, and I meant Virago. Virago in his own mind. He won't even look for another answer. He'll keep fighting ghosts until the boys in the white jackets with court orders call for him. And then there's Irene.
Mr. Marlowe, you were saying...
Hey, Poindexter, look out there. See out there, that boat anchored in the bay?
Yeah.
That's the same one I saw from the road before, isn't it? The road I took to the castle?
Sure. Only sailboat around here. Springtide certainly has her dipping for moss tonight, huh?
Certainly has. Her, me, and a lot of other things, including the fact that our boy who's chasing ghosts is going to be killed by something very real. If we don't get a move on. Come on, come on. We're all going to the castle in a big hurry.
Marlowe, are you sure you're right? I can't believe the answer's that simple.
Doesn't matter, Irene. Simple or not, it can still kill. Come on, Poindexter. We're going to run for it. Every second counts now. You catch up to us, Irene. We're going ahead. Poindexter followed me as I ran into the castle, and down the stone stairs to the basement and along the passageway that led to the spot above the crypt where I'd first met Marino. But we both slammed to a stop at the sight of something I couldn't expect to find this side of the Dark Ages. It was Ramiro again. Only this time minus his apron and long winter underwear, and plus a head-to-toe black coat of mail with a shiny steel helmet spike on top, tucked underneath his arm. And in one hand a lantern that swung to and fro with his cackling. In the other a long sword, vintage Lady of the Lake.
Back, senor. Senor, they're fighting down there in the crypt. Virago, the last of the Viragos, and Peter the Cruel. Peter who is to have his revenge.
Get out of the way, Ramiro. Come on, Poindexter. We got to get this door open.
No, stop.
Get lost, houseboy.
Are we in time? Is Bennett all right?
I don't know yet. Watch that jerk in the fancy dress. If he gets up, yell. Come on, Poindexter. We got to get this door open. Yeah, come on. Let's have it.
It's coming.
water just like you said.
Help. Help me.
Oh, Bennett. Bennett, thank heaven you're all right.
Virago, here. Take my hand. Reach for it.
There we are. There. Couldn't have lasted another minute. The water came through the cracks in the floor. And the coffins. They floated.
That's right. They're bumping against the sides of the crypt is the thumping sound you people have heard.
Yes. And when the water subsides again, the coffins will be scattered all over. Oh, Bennett, darling, you see, it's no angry spirit.
Yes, but why the water, Mr. Marlowe, and why does Peter the Cruel's coffin always stand on end upright? Where does the water come from?
The sea. There's an unusually high tide tonight. Spring tide, they call it. Right, Poindexter?
Right. Happens when the sun and the moon are in either direct conjunction or opposition.
You see, the castle's so close to the ocean and the crypt so deep that the water seeps in as the tide rises.
Oh, I see.
And as for Peter the Cruel, he settles upright because the old boy was buried in his coffin with his bondage chain still wrapped around his feet, according to legend. Ask Ramiro there. I'll be glad to tell you all about it.
Senor, it is more than legend. It is true. True, sir, that no...
Oh, shut up, Ramiro. Had enough of you and your stories.
Mr. Marlowe, how did you know? I mean...
What got you here in time? How did you think of the spring tide, Mr. Marlowe?
Well, it was a sailboat anchored in the bay, Irene. You know, when I first saw it, its mast pointed straight up at the stars. When I saw it again, hours later, it was dipped forward sharply because the anchor chain had been pulled tight by the rising tide. Well, that gave me the hunch I needed.
The hunch we needed, Mr. Marlowe. Thanks a lot. I'm glad to be out of the 16th century, and you know something?
What?
I think I'll stay out.
Well, it was another hour before we left the strange relic of another day. An hour in which everybody found himself thinking of Peter the Cruel's vengeful spirit. Oh, well. The tide took care of him.
Oh, Marlowe, did you hear that?
No. Yeah, well, as I was saying, that's the beauty of reality. Yeah, you can figure everything out.
Marlowe, there it is again.
Oh, that's nothing. It's probably just the wind.
Look, that figure up on the rampart.
Figure? Ramparts? Oh. Why, that's Ramiro. Or is it?
Remember, friends, to make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. There's lots of cooling, real mint flavor in every stick. And chewing Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling fresh and alert. You feel better, work better, get more fun out of doing things. So indoors, outdoors, wherever you go, keep some healthful, refreshing Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, presented by Wrigley's Spearmint Gum, bring you Raymond Chandler's most famous character and star, Gerald Mohr. Philip Marlowe is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and written for radio by Robert Mitchell and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Irene Tedrow, Lillian Byeth, David Ellis, Jay Novello, Parley Bear, Barney Phillips, and Edgar Barrier. The special music is composed and conducted by Richard Arant. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum hope you've enjoyed tonight's adventure of Philip Marlowe and that you're enjoying Wrigley's Spearmint Gum every day. We invite you to be with us next week when Philip Marlowe says,
This time a dying man's last wish led me from a gunman with orders to stop me, past a battered corpse in a crumbling mansion, to a ruthless redhead playing for keeps. And when it was over, the one in the middle got away with everything, except the dying man's last wish.
This is Bob Stevenson speaking, and this is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Yeah, Ford did sponsor one episode of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe on CBS, and Wrigley sponsored some intermittent programs in 1950, and that's what you're hearing today. July 12, 1950, The Iron Coffin, Adventures of Philip Marlowe here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. By the way, this was the best received run, but Gerald Mohr didn't star as Marlowe in all the shows. For one episode in 1950, he was replaced by William Conrad. William Conrad starred in everything else. Why shouldn't he star in Marlowe? All right, tomorrow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more crime with Barry Craig, confidential investigator, Nick Carter, private detective, a pair of shows with yours truly, Johnny Dollar, a 1958 episode with Bob Bailey, and a 1950 episode with Edmund O'Brien as the man with the action-packed expense account, and we'll wrap it up with another episode of Claudia. Up next, though, just the facts, ma'am. Dragnet, straight ahead.
No one knows when disaster might strike. It could come in the form of hurricane, flood, blizzard, or fire, or by enemy attack. So it's wise to be prepared for any emergency. It's wise to take a Red Cross first aid or home nursing course. At least one member of each family should know how to take care of an injured person. Remember, in time of disaster, doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel will be difficult, if not impossible, to find. So take a Red Cross first aid or home nursing course now.
Yes, I know. Jack Webb never said just the facts, ma'am. He never said that. An episode of Dragnet up next year on Classic Radio Theater, 73 years ago, July 12th, 1951. Joe Friday and Ben Alexander in the big setup.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A gang of clever thieves are at work in your city. In 3 months, they've looted fashionable homes of $100,000 in furs and jewels. There's no clue to their identity. Your job, get them. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Quality of tobaccos. The finest domestic and Turkish varieties, extra mild, superbly blended, to give you Fatima's much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, round, perfect Fatima cigarettes, rolled in the finest paper money can buy. Manufactured in the newest and most modern of all cigarette factories.
Quality. Even to the appearance of the bright, clean, golden yellow Fatima package.
So compare Fatima yourself. Today,
you'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, light up a Fatima. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, January 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. It was 11:15 a.m. when we got back to the city hall. Captain Wisdom's office.
Hi, Skipper.
Hi. How'd you make out?
Not too good. Same old story.
Anybody in the house when the thieves broke in?
Yeah, the children's nurse was there. She said the burglary took place about midnight. She was asleep in bed at the time.
Uh-huh.
The nurse said she woke up when she heard the thieves forcing their way in through a side door. She jumped out of bed, ran for the telephone in the hallway, and they grabbed her before she could reach it.
Do her any harm?
Well, a little, yeah. They tied her up, locked her in a closet.
Same MO as the other job, Skipper. 3 men. Each of them wore gloves and a mask. They took all the furs and jewelry they could find, nothing else.
Nurse give you the same general description on the 3 of them?
Yeah, it's not going to help much. Said 2 of the men were tall, medium build, and one was short, heavy build. She was so rattled she couldn't even remember the clothes they had on.
12 jobs for the same gang in 3 months. We don't even have a good description of them. How slow can we move?
Doing everything we can, Skipper.
Excuse me. Burglary, Wisdom. Uh-huh. Not until 2 o'clock? No, that's all right. 2 o'clock sharp. Right. Bye. Just had an appointment canceled out. How about a cup of coffee downstairs?
Yeah.
I didn't even have a chance for breakfast this morning.
Fine with me.
You grab my hat, will you?
Yeah, I'll get it. Here you go.
Thanks.
Guess you talked to the owners of the house, huh? The place was broken into last night?
Yeah, we did. Mr. and Ms. Peterson. They got home a couple hours after the burglary, took a quick inventory.
What did they find missing?
Furs and jewels, same as the other jobs, almost $12,000 worth. That's the biggest haul yet.
I don't have to spell it out for you. We need a break on this thing. We need it bad.
More pressure from the front office, huh?
It's coming from all sides. The victims, their insurance companies, newspapers. They got a right to cry. Those thieves have been grabbing furs and jewels for 3 months.
We're doing everything about it we can do, Skipper. Planning stakeouts, working our informants, running down every lead we can get our hands on. Covered every angle I can think of.
They don't worry about the angles we cover. They want results. They want their property back.
Yeah, go ahead, Skipper.
Go ahead.
Now, how about the stuff they took on the job last night? You get it on the stolen property list?
Yeah, it's all listed. That's one thing that really gets me. What are the thieves doing with all that stuff, the furs and the jewelry? We've had every pawn shop in the city on the alert since they started working. Checked on every possible outlet we know of, any place they could use to dump the stuff. They haven't turned up a trace of it.
No results from those APBs you got out?
Well, yeah, a few, but none of them have panned out.
How about trying the cafeteria here? They got pretty good coffee.
Well,
yeah, that's a good idea.
Why don't you 2 grab a table? I'll get the coffee.
Right, Ben. Oh, hold the cream on mine, will you?
Right, Skipper.
How's this? Is this all right, Skipper?
Yeah, it's fine. 3 chairs?
Yeah.
Okay. How about it Friday? You or Ben got any ideas at all?
Well, there's one thing we wanted to talk over with you. We were kicking the idea around on the way back into the office. Would you like a smoke?
Oh, thanks.
There you go. Last night, we were comparing the different stories we got from the burglary victims.
Yeah, light. Thank you.
You get a light all right?
Yeah, it's all right, thanks. Go ahead.
Well, that's one thing that all their stories seem to have in common. Now, that's counting all 12 victims.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, let's see. I got a piece of paper here. I got it all figured out. Yeah. We know all the victims are fairly wealthy people. They go out quite a bit, parties, nightclubs, things like that.
Yeah. None of them were at home at the time the burglaries were pulled.
That's right, yeah.
Here you go. There's your Skipper. No cream,
thanks.
Joe.
Thank you very much. I was just telling the captain about that idea we were talking about on the way back in.
Yeah, well.
All right, so none of the victims were home at the time of the burglary. Where does it go from there?
Well, for one thing, we all pretty much agree that there must be a finger man working with the gang, don't we? Somebody who knows the victims aren't home. Somebody who also knows the victims aren't wearing the furs or jewels on that particular night, is that right?
That's right. We've been going on that assumption. Now, the question is, who's the finger man?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at here. Ben and I compared the victims' stories. We found out that in every case, each of the victims had been out in some public place from 3 to 5 days before the night of the burglary. Now, at that time, every one of them wore furs and expensive jewelry.
Yeah.
Why don't you read off some of those examples we got there, Joe?
Okay. Well, here's the first one. Mr. and Mrs. Charles King. Now, on December 10th, they went to a nightclub out in Hollywood. Mrs. King wore a fur coat and quite a bit of jewelry. On December 14th, they went out to a theater. They didn't dress up at all. They left the furs and jewels at home. That's the night that their house was burglarized.
And this same pattern shows up in every one of the victims' stories?
No, it's not quite that close, but the same elements seem to be there.
Here's another one, Skipper. Let's see. Mr. and Mrs. Lyons, November 20th, they went to a big party at a restaurant out on Sunset. Woman wore jewelry, expensive fur wrap. A week later, they went to a party at a friend's house. Mrs. Lyons left her furs and jewelry at home, and the same night, the thieves broke in.
Yeah, that's a pretty good angle. How do you tie up all the loose ends?
Well, I can see the paper again, Ben. We got it halfway figured right here. Just before each of the victims was taken, they appeared in a public place. wearing the furs and jewelry. We've got a list of all the places, nightclubs, restaurants. There's about 6 of them here.
So the finger man for the gang must be watching these 6 places.
He spots the people with the expensive furs and jewelry and tips off the gang. They watch the house. Next time the people go out and the thieves see the woman isn't wearing her furs and things, and they move in.
It's not a sure thing. We're just guessing, you understand? What do you think?
Well, it sounds like a fair guess. Let's move on it.
We'll have to cover each of those nightclubs and the restaurants. It's going to take more men, more time. Could be nothing but a blind alley.
We got the men, we got the time. Let's try it.
10 p.m., Wednesday, January 10th. Our idea for stopping the burglary gang by reaching their spotter or finger man was put into operation. The half-dozen nightclubs and restaurants where we thought the spotter might be checking off richly dressed couples as future burglary victims were placed under strict surveillance. Managers and employees of each of the places were questioned. It went slow. The first week got us 4 leads to check out. They led nowhere. Any and all suspicious-looking persons loitering in or near the clubs and restaurants that we had staked out were questioned and checked out thoroughly. Another week passed, no results. In the meantime, on January 23rd, the burglary gang hit again, this time at a dentist's home in the Hollywood Hills. The maid, a Miss Ilsa Bergstrom, was the only one present at the time of the burglary. Ben and I drove out to interview her.
It was soon before midnight. The Mr. and Mrs. was gone out. They were sitting with the television.
The 3 men broke in the side door. Is that right, Miss Berkeley?
Yeah, the side door, I think so. They were sitting with the television watching. I hear this sound. I turn around, and the 3 men, they're right there in the room with me. I thought I could scream, but I couldn't.
Well, do you remember what the men looked like, Miss Bergstrom? How they were dressed?
I don't know. I was so much being frightened. One of them had a jacket on, I think. A dark jacket. The others, I don't know.
Anything else about them that you noticed?
Yeah, they had masks all over their faces. I couldn't see. I jumped up. I tried to scream, but I was so much frightened.
What'd they do then, Miss?
Well, they put a cloth all around my mouth so I couldn't make noise. Then they tied my hands and my feet, and they put me in the closet out there, just by the hallway. I was kicking and hitting at them.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever seen any of the men before, Miss Berkeley?
No, never before.
Do you think you'd know any of the men if you saw them again?
I shouldn't be sure. One of them, maybe I might know him.
Well, how do you mean? Did you get a look at his face?
Yeah, only it was very quick. When they was putting me in the closet, I was hitting and kicking at them. Mm-hmm. One of the men, I knocked his hat off. It fell on the floor. I pulled at the thing on his face, the mask. Almost it came off.
Well, from what you could see, what did the man look like?
Blonde hair, I can remember. It's not so much on top here. It's only on the side here.
Mm-hmm.
And there was right there by the forehead, here, a scar going over that way.
Yeah. Was he a big man, do you know, as big as the other two?
No, he was a smaller man. He was bigger this way, fatter, yeah. He was so mad when I knocked his hat off, I thought maybe he'd kill me. They only put me in the closet, and then they closed the door. I could hear them upstairs going through the Mr. and Mrs. room.
And you're pretty sure of the description you've given us, Miss Bergstrom?
Oh, yeah, the scar, the blonde hair. Not so much on top. I remember that. It was... Well, I was so much frightened, I thought he'd kill me.
Mm-hmm. Now, after they locked you in the closet, they didn't come back? That's the last you saw of them?
Yeah, they didn't come back to me. I could hear them moving around upstairs, and then I could hear them leave after a while. It was like all night before the Mr. and Mrs. came home and found me. I was so much frightened. This thing wouldn't happen in Sweden. That's where I come from, Sweden.
Yes, ma'am. You sure there's nothing else about these men that you've noticed? Something we ought to know about?
No, everything I saw, just what happened, I told you the way it was. This never would have happened in Sweden. Not like this, these robbers like this.
Burglars, ma'am.
Yeah, these burglars. I thought I'd be dead. Never would happen in Sweden like this.
You mean you don't have burglars in Sweden?
Oh, yeah, we have burglars.
Well, then just how do you mean that?
We have burglars, but they don't break in the house when somebody's there. They're a little bit gentlemen.
Is that so?
Yeah, they wait till everybody's gone from the house, then they break it. Even burglars should be gentlemen a little bit.
Before we left the house, we checked with the owners, took their crime report and a list of their stolen property, some $6,000 in jewelry and fur coats. The maid's description of one of the 3 men in the gang wasn't complete, but it was the best that we'd had on him in 3 months. Frank Cunningham in the Eye Bureau had the description of the scar on the suspect's forehead checked through the oddity file. Meantime, Ben and I paired up the additional facts about the suspect. The scar, the color and condition of his hair, along with his general description, his approximate weight and height. We had the stats office make a run for us and all ex-cons with burglary records who fitted the overall description. They came up with a list of 10 names, and we started checking them out. One of the first listed was a Russell Snow. We checked his last known address, but he'd moved. His mail was being forwarded in care of his brother, George Snow, who managed the Neptune Plunge, a public indoor swimming pool in the East Hollywood neighborhood. We drove out to interview the brother.
Pretty good size for an indoor pool, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's a nice layout they got.
Must be the office straight ahead there. Hey, Joe. Joe, look.
What's that?
That girl over there. Look at that bathing suit she's got on.
Yeah, they keep getting smaller, don't they?
Makes you embarrassed just to look at them. Yeah, maybe I'm just getting old.
Yeah.
Yes, sir? We're looking for George Snow.
Yeah, I'm him.
Police officers, Mr. Snow. Like to talk to you a few minutes if we could.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let me grab a towel over here. Get right off, Phil.
Sure.
Come on over. Pull up one of these deck chairs here.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Well, what is it, officers? What can I do for you?
You have a brother, isn't that right, sir? A Russell Snow?
Yeah, that's right. Russ is my brother. Anything wrong?
Well, we'd like to locate him if we could. Do you know where we can find him?
No, don't think I can. Last I heard from Russ was about 6 months ago. Said he was going to take a job in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Not in trouble again, is he?
Not that we know of. We'd like to locate him, that's all.
I don't think I can help you much. Russ isn't much of a letter writer. Only time I hear from him is when he's in town.
We've checked at the last place your brother was staying. They told us he left word to forward all his mail here to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Russ asked me to take care of it. No letters have come through so far, though.
Mm-hmm. Were you to hang on to his mail or send it on to him in Minneapolis?
No, I was going to hang on to him. Russ said he'd pick up his mail next time he was through. As I say, that was 6 months ago. I haven't seen or heard from him since.
Then you wouldn't know if he was actually in Minneapolis or not.
Well, no, I wouldn't. Guess you know my brother Russell had a police record.
Yes, sir, we do.
He had that trouble a couple of years ago, that burglary rap. I think Russ learned his lesson.
Are you your brother's only living relative? I mean, is there anyone else in town who might have heard from him?
I don't know, officer. Excuse me just a minute. All right, kids, no running around the side of the pool, you hear? You slip and break your neck. No more running. Sorry, I gotta watch him like a hawk.
Yes, sir.
Like I was saying, I can't think of anybody who might have heard from Russ. I'm his only relation, but he does have a few friends around town. I mean, legitimate fellas, you know.
Yeah, huh?
They come around once in a while, drop in and say hello.
Have any of them heard from your brother?
They might have, but I didn't ask him. There's old Matt Garson. He's a good friend of my brother's. He was in the other day, but he didn't say anything about hearing from Russ. Might be that he has. Maybe he didn't think to mention it.
Well, where does this Matt Garson stay, do you know?
I really couldn't tell you, officer. That's a real character, kind of a floater. Doesn't stay with one job more than 2 months. Like last week when he was in here.
Yes, sir?
He's a real pitchman. Gave me a big sales talk. Biggest bargain on earth. Said he'd sell me a couple of them real cheap. I didn't have any use for them.
What's that, sir?
Fur coats.
Before we left, George Snow gave us a complete description of Matt Garson, together with the names of 5 of Garson's acquaintances who might know of his whereabouts. When Ben and I got back to the city hall, we checked Garson's name and description through R&I. He had a record of 2 fairly recent arrests, but no convictions. Both arrests were for suspicion of burglary. We checked on Garson's last known residence. He'd moved, no forwarding address. His last place of employment was listed as the Park Tivoli nightclub out on Wilshire Boulevard. The Park Tivoli was one of the 6 places that we'd staked out as a possible working ground for the burglary gang's fingerman, a place where he could spot expensively dressed persons, check on their home addresses, and line them up as future burglary victims. Ben put in a call to the manager of the Park Tivoli to check on Garson's employment.
What was that, sir? Last July. I see. Well, yes, sir, we'll probably be out tonight. Right, thank you. Bye.
What'd you get?
Garson worked out there, all right. Parking lot attendant. He quit last July.
Mm-hmm.
If he's the guy checking off the customers' furs and jewels, he's in a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Manager told me that Garson has a girlfriend. She still works at the club. Might be the answer, Joe.
Well, how do you figure?
She runs a hatcheck stand.
You are in the communications division of a metropolitan police department, the teletype room.
.43 LOS 52951, 12:03 p.m. APB, WMA 150, 5'6", dark hair, dark eyes, wearing gray suit, no hat. Suspect is wearing glasses, heavy build, 22 years. Suspect is armed with blue steel revolver. Any information? Forward.
You have just heard a teletype description of a suspect. This information will apply to many, but careful screening will eliminate all but one.
You'll find the same is true when you examine king-size cigarettes. Yes, careful screening will eliminate all but Fatima.
Compare Fatima. Fatimas are the same length as any other king-size cigarette, 85 millimeters. Fatima has the same circumference, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as other king-size cigarettes.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. You get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
So compare Fatima yourself. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
One of the biggest problems that faces a police officer working the burglary detail is not only apprehending the thief, but also recovering the stolen property. Dozens of criminals of this type will spend 5, 10, or even 15 years in prison if they know that on their release they will have a stake of thousands of dollars in stolen property which they've hidden somewhere to start over again with. Thursday, January 26th, 5 p.m. We got out a broadcast and an APB on the burglary suspect, Matt Garson. Then we began checking back on his girlfriend, Virginia Ramsey, who worked as a hatcheck girl at the Park Tivoli nightclub on Wilshire Boulevard. It was one of the 6 probable places where we thought that the finger man for the burglary gang was lining up potential victims. Despite the fact that she often associated with known criminal suspects, the Ramsey girl had no previous criminal record herself. That night, after she reported in for work at the club, Ben and I checked her apartment. In one of the closets, we found 3 expensive fur coats. They were all identified as property taken in previous burglaries by the gang. In a strong box in the desk, we found a half a dozen pieces of expensive jewelry, also identified on the stolen property list. Ben and I got in the car and drove to the Park Tivoli nightclub.
Your hat, sir? Check your hat?
Your name Virginia Ramsey?
Yes, that's right.
Police officers, Miss Ramsey. Like to talk to you downtown.
Beg your pardon?
I say we're police officers. Here's our identification. Like to talk to you downtown.
What's it all about? I haven't done anything.
Then there's no reason to worry. We'd just like to ask you a few questions, that's all.
What about?
A man by the name of Matt Garson. I understand you know him quite well.
No, I don't know him. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Want to get your coat, Miss Ramsey? We'll talk it over downtown, huh?
I'm working now. Listen, I won't be off till 2 o'clock. I can't just walk off the job.
We just talked to the manager. He's going to have one of the other girls take your place. Do you want to get your coat, please?
All right. You sure you checked with the manager? I don't want to lose my job leaving like
We
this.
talked to him. It's all right.
This way, please. Out the side door.
I'd like to know what this whole thing's all about. I think I have a right to know, pulling me off a job like this.
We told you, Miss Ramsey, it's about a friend of yours, Matt Garson. He used to work here at the club, didn't he?
I wouldn't know. A lot of people work here. I don't know them all. Why should you want him anyway?
Do you know him?
I think I might, yes. Not sure. Why do you want him?
For interrogation, just like to ask him a few questions.
Why?
You ready to admit that you know Garson?
I think I might. Yeah, I know him.
Want to get in, Miss Ramsey?
Still don't know what it's all about. Why do you want Matt Garson?
Same reason we want you, suspicion of burglary.
You don't know what you're talking about. You can't prove anything against me.
We already have, miss.
Huh?
We found 3 fur coats in your apartment. There was some jewelry there, too.
Those things are mine, every one of them. They're all mine.
All right, come on, you're wasting time. They're stolen property, you know that.
How about it, miss? You want to tell us about Matt Garson? Where is he?
I told you. Told you the first time.
Yeah?
I don't know him.
10 p.m. We drove the suspect, Virginia Ramsey, downtown to the city hall and took her to the interrogation room. We questioned her continuously until well past midnight. She refused to admit anything. We gave her time to rest a little and sent out for some food. Then we resumed the interrogations. 2 a.m. The Ramsey girl still refused to admit any connection with Matt Garson, his friend Russell Snow, or any members of the burglary gang. We stayed with it. By 4 a.m., we'd halfway convinced her that protecting the members of the gang wasn't the answer, that the best thing for her to do would be to cooperate. 5:30 a.m.
Can I have a cigarette?
Yeah. Here you are.
I'll tell you about it. I know Matt Garson. He's one of the gang.
You know where he is?
No. He got me into it. He made me do it. There wasn't anything else I could do.
What did he make you do?
Well, when I was checking coats and things at the club, I was supposed to watch for customers with money, expensive furs and jewels. I found out who they were, and then I'd tell Matt. He'd tell the others.
Who are the others?
One of them's Johnny Lang. There are a couple of others, but I don't know their names. Believe me, Sergeant, Matt made me do it. He got me into it before I knew what it was all about. When I found out, he threatened to frame me if I didn't go along with him.
Do you know where any of these men live, where they hang out?
No. None of them, not even Matt. Ever since he moved, he wouldn't give me his new address.
Do you think Garson will try to contact you at your apartment in the next few days, maybe?
No, I don't think so. Not until after the next job. They're waiting on it now. They've been watching the house.
Which house is that?
Place out in West Hollywood. Wealthy people. They were in the club about a week ago.
And the gang's waiting for them to go out some night and leave their valuables at home, is that
Yeah, that's right. Matt says it's an easy house to break into. He thinks it ought to be a cinch.
it? Matt ought to know better.
Huh?
It's the easy ones you trip over. Before we booked her in on suspicion of burglary, Virginia Ramsey gave us the name and address of the people in West Hollywood who were supposedly the next victims on the burglary gang's list. Later in the morning, we drove out to see the people. A Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Thornton told them the story and laid out our plans, which they agreed to. That night, the Thorntons left their home a few minutes before 9. They were simply dressed, no furs, no jewels. At 9:35, 3 men scaled a fence at the rear of the Thorntons' home and broke in through a side door. Right behind them was a detail of a half a dozen officers who moved in and made the arrest. The 3 suspects were taken downtown, where they were identified as Russell Snow, Matt Garson, and Howard Ferris. We searched their apartments, their cars, and garages. There was no trace of the stolen property. Each of the men were brought to the interrogation room separately for questioning. Matt Garson was the first. He denied any knowledge of where the loot was hidden.
That's the truth. I don't know where the stuff is. I work for the outfit, that's all.
You've been working for 3 months without a payoff. Is that what you're trying to tell her?
Well, we haven't been turning over everything we got. We've been holding out half the stuff, selling it on the side. I just work for the outfit, that's all.
That's not the way we get it, Garson. You're supposed to be the big man. You masterminded the deal.
Me? Who told you that?
Your girlfriend, Virginia Ramsey. We picked her up yesterday. She told us everything.
What'd she tell you?
You're the big man. It was your idea. You ran the works.
What about it, Garson?
Big joke, Sergeant, on both of us.
What do you mean?
You can ask the other boys. They'll tell you the same thing. We can prove it, too. There's only one boss in this operation.
Yeah?
Virginia Ramsey.
For a 23-year-old girl, it seemed like a new record of some kind, if it was true. We checked the other suspects, Russell Snow and Howard Ferris. They told us substantially the same story. The Ramsey girl had formulated all the plans and directed the entire operation of the gang since its inception. They insisted that they had no idea where the stolen property was hidden, but they did know that the Ramsey girl had a safety deposit box in a downtown bank. We made a canvass of banks in the downtown area, and a day later we located the safety deposit box listed in Miss Ramsey's name. We obtained a court order, and the box was open. In it, we found practically all of the stolen jewelry, almost $50,000 worth. Ben and I went back to the main jail, where we had Virginia Ramsey signed out for investigation. We brought her to the interrogation room, where we confronted her with the evidence.
I didn't think you'd find out. I didn't think you'd ever find out.
How about the furs, Miss Ramsey?
I got the key. You can have it. I rented a private garage. I got them stored in there.
All of them?
Just about, yeah. You picked up the others in my apartment.
How'd you manage to run this whole operation? Those men you had working for you, you cut them in for practically nothing. They were experts, the best in the business.
That's why I hired them. They were the best. It's too bad. Should have worked out. Too bad it didn't go.
You had a pretty fair run.
Wasn't half bad for me, was it? I'm only 23. First time I ever tried anything like it.
What gave you the idea?
I don't know. I wanted things. Pretty smart setup, though, don't you think, Sergeant?
How's that?
Wouldn't you say I played the whole thing pretty smart?
Oh, I don't know. You figure it.
What?
You're in jail, aren't you?
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent. On March 28th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, if you smoke a long cigarette, I want you to get acquainted with Fatima's. This weekend, for instance, when you're relaxing and taking it easy, you'll really appreciate Fatima's better flavor and aroma. And I know you'll like Fatima's extra mildness. Make a note tomorrow. Buy Fatima's in the familiar yellow carton.
23-year-old Virginia Ramsey, the leader of the gang, was tried and convicted on 4 counts of first-degree burglary and 4 counts of receiving stolen property. The 3 male members of the gang were convicted of first-degree burglary, also 4 counts. They are now serving their terms in the state penitentiary. First-degree burglary is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years. Receiving stolen property is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 6 months, nor more than 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, vacation time is here again, and a great many of you will be taking trips in your automobile. Danger is never absent from the highways of America. Be careful. The care you take may save a life, and that life may be your own.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next over most NBC stations.
73 years ago, July 12, 1951, Dragnet here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage at classicradio.stream. Stream our shows, learn about building a classic radio program. You can find our social media links, and you can buy me a copy. That's at classicradio.stream. Now we're going to move to 1954 for an episode of Gangbusters.
When buying your emergency food and water supply, choose foods that provide a well-balanced diet. For instance, canned soups, fruits, vegetables, fruit juices, packaged cereals, and dried foods are excellent for storing. Raisins and chocolate are good energy-building foods and take up little storage space. Avoid storing salty foods because they will only add to the problem of drinking water. Remember, in case of attack, your emergency food and water supply may have to last your family 2 weeks.
Always a good thing to have plenty of extra food on hand in case of emergency. CivilDefenseMuseum.com for more information on that. It's not just for nuclear attack. There's so many reasons why you need that emergency food supply, especially these days. All right, let's head to 1954 for a late episode of Philip H. Lord's Gangbusters. This episode entitled Battle on the Staircase.
And now, in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States, Wrigley's Spearmint Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment, Gangbusters! For chewing enjoyment plus long-lasting refreshment, treat yourself to Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The lively, full-bodied flavor cools your mouth and freshens your taste. The pleasant chewing helps keep your throat moist and adds enjoyment to whatever you're doing. So always keep a package of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. Enjoy it often, every day, as millions do. Gangbusters has asked Captain Carl B. Shoemaker, Deputy Chief in charge of Criminal Investigation Division, Portland, Oregon Bureau of Police, to narrate by proxy tonight's case. Chief Shoemaker.
Thank you. And good evening, Gangbusters listeners. Not far from the picturesque town of Oceanside, Oregon, a small park overlooks the blue waters of the Pacific Ocean. This is a peaceful place, where a man's thoughts might be pleasant and good. Only the thoughts of two young men in bathing trunks didn't fit the countryside at all.
Red?
Yeah?
I was just thinking. Guess a day like this makes you think, huh? Lying out here, looking up at those clouds.
Hey, where's Carol, Bert?
Oh, she's still down swimming, I guess. She'll be back. Like I was saying, I've been thinking about your idea.
Hmm?
You sure will work, huh, Red?
Oh, now, look. Nobody's sure of anything. All I know is, Bert, I just got a peculiar habit, see? I like dough. I like lots of it.
Anybody does.
Yeah, I like what you can get with that dough. Swell clothes, a big car with a top down. Dames.
Yeah.
You know something funny about me, Bert?
What?
I like throwing money around on women.
Yeah, sure. Who don't, huh?
You killed me, Bert. All right, now, are you in or out? I'm pulling out of here in the morning.
Hey, you guys gonna take a dip?
Oh, hold it, will you, Red? Here's Carol. We're hungry.
Ooh, that water's sure cold, but it peps you up. You know?
Hey, boy, you look good in a bathing suit, Carol.
Oh, you see, Bert? Other guys know how to say nice things.
Ah, now, I always thought you looked good, honey. You know that.
Well, time to head back?
So soon? I thought we could stay all afternoon.
Oh, I got things to do. Did Bert tell you? I'm pulling out in the morning.
You are? Well, gee, we'll miss you, Red. Won't we, Bert?
Huh?
Well, will you, Bert? Go on, answer the girl.
Well, we'll talk about that later, huh?
Talk about what? What goes?
Well, Carol, look, me and Red... Well, that is...
I'm going to get me some dough starting tomorrow. A lot of dough. And I asked Bert if he wants it.
Get dough how?
Oh, I got ways. It's going to take time, though. It's going to take maybe a month. Maybe longer. What's the answer, Bert? You got to make up your mind.
Well, I want to. Red, you know that.
Oh, then we pull out in the morning. Agreed?
Yeah, I guess so.
Bert,
Yeah, honey.
you're leaving? You just get out of Quinton and leaving again?
Well, I need money, too, Carol. How can we have any fun if I'm broke all the time?
Answer my question. I hang around waiting for you. Now you're pulling out on me?
This and that, honey. I just...
Answer me.
Well, answer the lady, Bert.
Yeah, I guess I am, Carol. Honey. Say something, Carol.
You dirty, stinking rat.
Now get this, all of you. First jerk that makes a move gets a slug. You got that? Nobody moves.
Come on.
Okay, Bert, get it moving. Roll, I said. One of those punks pulled the alarm.
I am.
Come on faster, you dope. Think that's a squad car pulling out behind us.
Can't go any faster. Red, there's a lot of traffic here.
Hey, it is a squad car. Move this thing, will you?
Are they coming?
Keep going.
If we can get to the highway...
Look out, there's a car!
Hey, Red.
Just a side swipe. Now go on, pull back, keep rolling.
Right.
Come on, move it, I tell you. That's the boy. Now you're learning.
That car we hit there looked bad, Red.
Never mind what we hit. We're moving, ain't we?
What about squad car?
Yeah, forget it. We got open road up ahead. Now go!
Two stools right here at the bar, fellas.
Oh, thank you. Hey, this is all right, you know, Red. Look at the way it's fixed up. Like Hawaii, huh?
Yeah.
Music sounds good, huh?
It's okay.
What'll it be, fellas? Beer?
A rye here. Water on the side.
I'll have a beer.
Yes, sir. Beer and a rye. Dixie special, all right, sir?
Huh?
House rye. It's excellent, sir.
Anything.
Hey, you know something? It's funny, sort of.
Yeah, what is?
Well, I mean, they call this place the Dixie Belle. Ain't that right, Red? Ain't that the name of the place there?
Well, so what?
Yeah, but inside it's Hawaiian. You get it? Should be southern, sort of, huh?
In Portland, Oregon?
I guess I never thought about that.
A rye and a water wash and a beer. Well, you fellas from out of town?
Yeah.
First visit to Portland?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, great city, great. Lived here all my life. You like that rye okay?
It'll do.
Excellent rye. Yes, sir, great little city. Here on business, are you?
Yeah.
Well, anything you boys want Alice to play, just write it on one of those slips. Great little trio, Alice's.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
Plays Hawaiian, you know. I guess you can hear. Aloha, songs like that.
Yeah, sure.
Here on business, he said. Well, you'll like it. Yes, sir, Portland is just about everything. And it's yours for the asking.
Six o'clock, folks. Afraid I gotta lock up now. Well, that side door's locked, Mrs. Hensel. Use the front way out, please, huh? Thank you. Good night. Well, sir, I guess you're the last one.
Me? Yeah, I am.
Glad you came in. My name's Pearlie. I guess you know that. Saw the sign outside.
Yeah.
Pearlie Brothers Supermarket.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
Let's see. Bananas. I was going to weigh those. Or did I? Oh, let me see now.
Never mind.
Oh, gotta weigh 'em, mister. Wouldn't want to cheat a new customer.
I said never mind.
What's that? What are you? Oh, no.
Come on, move.
Don't get nervous now. Whatever you do, don't get excited and shoot.
Nobody's excited. Just do like I say.
Yes, of course, anything. Just be careful with that gun, that's all. You want the money? Here it is, right in the register.
Walk back to the office and back. Go on, fast.
In the back office? Sure I will. I'll do whatever you say. Just be careful now. Huh?
You be careful. All right, open the door. Go in.
In? Yes, sir. Right now.
Okay out front?
Yeah, so far.
There's two of you?
Yeah, we're friends, Pop. All right, now. Get going on the safe.
The safe?
What's the matter? You deaf? Open it up.
I can't. Honest, that's the truth. Time lock's set. Won't open now until morning.
Yeah. Any dough out front?
Yes, money in the register.
I told him that. I told him to take it.
All right, go on out and get it. When you're ready, call.
All right.
Oh, wait a second.
Well, you told me to get the money.
Yeah, I know what I told you. Pop.
Yes?
Give him your apron.
My apron?
Don't make me say everything twice. Take it off.
Yes, sir, I will. Here, take it.
What for?
Well, put it on, you jerk. Anybody looks in the window, it'll seem like you work here.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah, well, I did. I'll get going.
This won't take a minute.
Oh, put the dough in a shopping bag and stick some groceries on top of it.
Yeah, sure.
You sure about that safe?
It's honest. My brother and me, we set it that way. Once you set it, you can't open it without calling the protection people.
Yeah, what's the matter? Don't you and your brother trust each other?
Well, me and Ed, it ain't that. We just have to call...
Okay. No kidding. You expecting a call?
It was just my wife. She always calls at closing time to see if I'm going to be late.
All right, let it ring.
I got the dough.
All right, stay there. If you're lying about that safe...
Oh, I'm not. Honest, I'm not. My wife will be worried.
I call her back. Only for now, just don't do nothing. You got that? Just stand here.
Whatever you say.
Just stand still.
Yeah.
That's it, Pop. Nice and still.
I got the dough in the bag like you said, Red.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, let's go.
Ella, call the police. Never mind what happened. Hang up, Ella, and call the police.
Friends, next time you chew a stick of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum, notice how cool and fresh it makes your mouth feel. That's because Wrigley's Spearmint Gum has lots of lively, refreshing flavor in every stick. The minute you sink your teeth in, that cooling flavor begins to freshen your taste and relieve that hot, dry feeling in your throat. It sweetens the breath, too. Millions of people carry Wrigley's Spearmint Gum with them wherever they go for quick, long-lasting refreshment and for real chewing enjoyment. Next time you're at the store, get some Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Enjoy its refreshing flavor and good, pleasant chewing often, every day. Remember, that's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. Now, back to Gangbusters and Captain Carl B. Shoemaker, Deputy Police Chief, Portland, Oregon.
In the language of a professional thief, Gangbusters listeners, a score is the amount of cash realized in a robbery. And the score in the Portland supermarket robbery was unusually good. An hour later, locked in their hotel room, Red and his pal counted over $1,300 in cash. Back at Pearly Brothers Supermarket, Detective Sergeant Myron Warren and Detective Robert Shaler were at work on the case.
Now, if you're ready, Mr. Purley, we'd like you to ride down to headquarters with us.
Oh, tonight?
It'd help, Mr. Purley. We'd like to have you look at the photographs in the file.
Well, if it'll help, I will. Just a second while I lock up and back. Don't know why, though. Nothing to lock up now. Took all the money.
Take your time. Any ideas, Bob?
Might tie up to those teletypes.
Yeah, I thought of them, too. How many? Do you remember?
At least 7. The job in Sacramento was a supermarket.
Yeah, so are a couple of others. And day by day, they get closer to Portland.
Maybe something will turn up in the mugshots.
Maybe. I think we better have a plan if Purley can't pick them out, though.
The roadblock's all set up.
Good. What about that motel out on the south end?
You know, the report on the 2 guys? I just called in to get a check. Negative.
Oh.
Looked good for a minute or 2. 2 guys and 2 dames killing a case of beer. Not our pigeons, though. They established alibis in a bar out there.
So that leaves us where? Where would you go?
Me?
If you just stuck up this place and scored more than 1,300.
Mexico. Winter's coming.
Maybe you got a point.
Mexico?
The spree.
Oh.
Bob, I've seen quite a few of these jobs. 9 times out of 10, they get their hands on big money, they start spending it.
Sounds reasonable.
Let's try it, okay? After we're through with Purley, let's look the town over. Maybe run into a couple of real smart boys out spending their dough.
I'm ready, officers. I phoned Ella. Told her not to wait.
Good, Mr. Purley. We're ready, too.
You want a drink, Jim?
Hey, you kill me, you know it, Lester? 10 times a night you ask me if I want a drink. The answer's no. Not when I'm working.
I just thought you looked pooped.
Well, I am. This is no picnic, Lester. On the force all day. In Dublin here tonight.
Well, I keep wondering why the boss thinks he needs you. Excuse me. Yes, sir, gentlemen?
Rye. Water on the side.
I'll have a beer.
Right, a water chaser and a beer. Yes, sir. Say, weren't you fellas in last night?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, get the drinks, will you?
Never forget a face. Glad to see you again. If you want Alice to play a request, just write it on one of those slips.
Yeah, you told us. Now get the drinks.
Yes, sir. Coming up.
What do you mean, Les? You wonder why the boss needs a security man.
Hey, just a second while I serve these drinks, Jim.
Okay.
Rye, water on the side, and a beer.
Hey, she'll play requests there?
Alice? Yeah, that's what she's here for.
Well, ask her to play that one she just finished, eh?
Oh, you like that song?
Yeah.
So do I. Alice plays it swell. Yes, sir, you just listen. Repeat number 1, Alice.
That's it.
Say, Les.
I didn't mean anything, Jim, but this is a respectable place. Why keep you hanging around?
Now, look, it's okay with the department if we take part-time jobs off duty. It ought to be okay with you.
Oh, it is, Jim. Sure it is. It's just that this is a respectable place. Nothing ever happens here at all.
Hey, you like that song, Red? She can play that swell.
Oh, look, will you request something else? That's about the 10th time.
Oh, I think that's pretty. Don't you, Red? You know, someday, maybe me and Carol could go to Hawaii, huh? You know, eat that pooey stuff or whatever they... Red?
Bert.
What?
You know that guy sitting over there, the one the bartender keeps yakking to?
Him? No, why?
I'll bet he owns this trap.
You think so? Why?
Why? Oh, you sound like a kid. Because he ain't drinking. Because he's been sitting there all night.
I never would have thought of that.
Well, I didn't. I got another thought, too. Boy, this would be an awful easy touch.
Here? Now? All right. Now, you said we were going to have a ball.
So we didn't find any dames, did we? Why not touch the lousy joint?
I don't want to, Red. I'm having fun.
Who cares what you want? Look, there he goes into the lobby. Ooh, and there ain't a soul around.
Be right back, Les.
Yeah, okay, Jim.
Here, this one's gonna be easy.
Hey, Red, wait.
You wait. Right there.
Another drink, fellas?
Give him a real drink, pal. Maybe give him some guts.
I'll have another beer.
Looking for the restroom? It's right over there. Do you... Oh, I see.
Yeah, you see good, pal. Where's the office? Up those stairs?
No use going up there. The owner went home hours ago.
All right, start up the stairs. Now, come on, fast. Don't you know a gun in your back when you feel one?
I know a gun, all right.
Now, move.
Whatever you say. Only there's nothing up there. I know.
Keep going. Don't stop looking around.
Oh, I'm going, friend. Going good.
Red, don't stand there. Let's go.
Stop! Both of you stop!
Jim, you hurt?
Phone in, Lister. I'm going after them. Stop!
They're outside, Jim. Look, on the street.
Yeah, I see them. They haven't got a chance. Stop!
Peters.
What? Oh, Sergeant Warrant. It's a stick-up. Those two guys in the corner. Come on.
Bob, head them off at the intersection.
Right. Watch it. One of them's armed.
Head they go into the alley. Come on.
Sergeant, we're splitting up. One of them's heading south.
Head them off. Come on, Jim. We'll get the other one.
Look. He stopped, Sergeant. Should I fire?
Hold it. All right, you're boxed in. Throw down your gun and walk toward us. Now, look, we won't fool around. Now, don't shoot. I'll come out.
Watch him. He's the one who tried the stick-up.
In the Dixie?
That's right.
Bob and I were just coming in to case it. All right, don't shoot. Don't shoot. All right, just stand perfectly still. Keep your arms on your head.
Yeah.
Bob.
Sorry, Myron. I lost the other one.
Yeah.
I got his gun, Sergeant.
Where's your pal heading? Come on, talk to me.
Him? Wouldn't you guys like to know?
Carol, honey, am I glad to see you.
You are?
Oh, you got my telegram, didn't you? You knew I was coming, huh?
Oh, I knew, Bert.
Did I have a time getting here, baby? They got red. Did you know that?
You don't say.
Sure, up in Portland. We were... What's the matter, Carol? You sore about something?
Me? Why should I be, Bert? I wait for you all the while you're in Quinton, then you get out, say hello, and walk out on me. Why should I be sore?
I didn't walk out on you, Carol, honest.
I got news for you, Bertie boy. Nobody walks out on Carol.
But, baby...
Now I got more news for you.
News? What news, baby?
You asked, did I know you were coming?
Yeah.
Turn around and open the door, Bert.
Huh?
Go ahead. Who knows? Maybe I baked a cake.
This door?
Open it, lover.
What? Sure.
Hello, Bert.
Carol.
We're grateful to your girlfriend, Bert. Back in Portland, we've been looking for you.
Carol, why? Why, honey?
I don't like being walked out on, Bert. Like I think I said before. You dirty, stinking rat.
I'm glad to report, Gangbusters listeners, that in the circuit court in Portland, both these men received long sentences, which they are now serving in the state penitentiary in Salem.
Thank you, Captain Carl V. Shoemaker, Deputy Chief, Portland, Oregon, Bureau of Police. In just a moment, Gangbusters Nationwide Clues. Friends, Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum is a refreshing, delicious treat you can enjoy even while you're working, driving your car, or busy doing other things. Just slip a stick into your mouth and chew it as long as you like. The pleasant chewing will make the time pass more pleasantly for you, and you'll enjoy that cooling, refreshing flavor. It'll help keep your mouth and throat moist. A real help on warm summer days. Keep a package or two of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy all the time. Chew and enjoy it often, as millions do. That's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. And now, Gangbusters Nationwide Clues, broadcast every week to assist American police in their war against the underworld. Attention all citizens. Be vigilant for Charles Ray Downing, wanted by the FBI for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for murder. His official description.
Charles Ray Downing, alias Chuck, age 30, 5 feet 10, 175 pounds, medium build, brown hair, maybe dyed black, blue eyes, ruddy complexion, may seek work as a farmer, salesman, or cook. This man's nose is twisted to one side. He has 2 tattoos. Heart and arrow with name Mickey on left forearm. Eagle with word liberty on right forearm. His fingers are drawn and upper arms underdeveloped, reportedly as a result of polio.
Caution, Downing may be armed and should be considered extremely dangerous. If you have any information concerning this clue, notify your local police, the nearest office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or Gangbusters at once. Tonight's Gangbusters case was dramatized by Robert J. Shaw and directed by Leonard L. Bass, with Charles Chuck Webster, William Frederick Zuckert, and Lawson Zerby in leading roles. The entire production was supervised for CBS Radio by John Ives. Gaylord Avery speaking. Gangbusters, a production of CBS Radio in cooperation with Phillips H. Lord, is brought to you each week, same time, same station, by Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat you can enjoy even while you're busy. This is the CBS Radio Network.
Gangbusters started out as G-Men in the spring of 1935. Phillips H. Lord worked with FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who wasn't really a fan of doing a radio show, but the Attorney General said, okay, you can do it. Hoover insisted only closed cases be used, and he demanded he or a top-level aide review and approve each script, and that they downplay gunfights and car chases and spent more times of systematic investigations and legwork, and it should be shown that the agents were hard-working, intelligent, and essentially faceless cogs in his technically savvy crime-fighting organizations. Lord saw it not as a public service, but as an entertainment show, which is what it had to be. So Hoover basically did not like the show, and basically it went a year and it broke it off. Gangbusters would be formed after that. It ran, as I said, from July to October of 1935, sponsored by Chevrolet. The sequel, Gangbusters, debuted mid-January 1936. It was a much more shrill and a bigger sounding show, and lots of noise. And Gangbusters would roll from 1936 all the way until November of 1937. Gangbusters and the Battle on the Staircase. Up next, a bigger battle as Claudia helps another mother.
You can protect yourself from radioactive fallout after an enemy attack. Our tests have shown that an underground shelter covered by 3 feet of earth offers the best protection. A basement shelter could be made safe by closing off windows, exterior entrances, and banking exposed walls. In homes without basements, first-floor areas with the least exposure, such as bathroom, utility room, or hallway, should be selected. Be prepared. Start building your home shelter today.
Have a great weekend ahead. We wrap up this Friday edition of Classic Radio Theater with an episode of Claudia. This episode going back, as they all do, 76 years, July 12th, 1948, as Claudia uses her baby to help another mom.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
Goodbye, goodbye, my little chickadee.
I don't know how you can be so gay when you've just said goodbye to me. My heart is breaking.
I'll say it again. Goodbye, goodbye, my little chickadee.
If you just wait 10 more minutes, you could watch.
Watch what? I wouldn't want to be in the way.
Be in the way? Ridiculous. You're our father's son, aren't you?
I certainly hope so.
Don't be in such a rush. Make the most of your fatherhood.
Going to have years and years and years to make the most of my fatherhood.
Listen, before you know it, he'll be eating off a knife. I mean, with a knife.
Oh.
Oh, he makes the funniest little faces. All sorts of queer He falls asleep in the middle of everything.
Oh, sounds charming.
It isn't. But I can't blame him. I don't see how he can stand the stuff we feed him. Condensed milk, glucose, and heaven knows what.
Glucose?
If I were he, I wouldn't touch it.
Now, don't you go giving him ideas. You see that he takes every last drop of the bottle.
Yes, darling.
Make a drunkard out of him. Go ahead. Just because you don't like it is no reason why he shouldn't drink it.
Yes, darling.
Maybe I should hang around and see that you don't jip him.
Yes, darling. Oh, I know he's not much, but he's the best we could do. So, I'm going to try and like him.
That's a good girl. Try very hard.
Very hard.
Maybe you'll get so that you think he's pretty good.
Sort of the crowning of the day when 6 o'clock comes around.
Oh, I wouldn't miss the 6 o'clock bottle for $1 million.
I'll write you a check, $1 million.
Thank you.
Maybe that's he now.
It's getting pretty strong. That's quite a knock for a week-old child.
Come in. Oh, I've been just dying to give you your bottle, darling.
That sounds interesting. What's in my bottle?
Oh, Dr. Rowland, I thought you were my son.
Claudia thinks there's a faint resemblance in the way you knock on the door, Doctor.
Well, I'm very flattered that my right forearm has been compared to a week-old child. I'm very flattered indeed.
How are you feeling today, Dr. Rowland?
Just a moment, young woman. You're the patient, not I.
I feel terrible. You have to take time out of your busy day to come and see me.
Well, we do that every once in a while.
There's some aspirins in my night table if you want one.
No headaches today, thank you. Are you getting your strength back, Claudia?
I've got it back, but nobody's letting me use it up.
We're thinking of buying Claudia a straitjacket, Dr. Rowland.
I'm afraid that wouldn't keep Claudia down.
Last, a little respect. Well, how's the woman down the hall, Dr. Rowland?
How'd you know? I've just seen her.
David, did I tell you about her? She's Mrs. Godwin. She lost her baby.
Yes, you told me. It's a rather serious case, isn't it, Dr. Rowland?
Yes, very serious. She not only lost her baby, but she's lost herself completely. She's put herself completely out of my reach.
How awful.
She finds escape in closing herself up in a world of her own. And she won't let herself feel anything. She won't respond. And if she doesn't find the will to live...
Oh, she's got to find the will.
Well, my talking to her is of no use.
Dr. Rowland, just a minute ago you asked me if I was feeling strong. I'm feeling very strong. So strong that I think I might be able to bring a little of my strength to Mrs. Godwin. I think that I can help her. David, give me my slippers and my robe. I don't exactly know what I'm going to say or do, but...
I think you'll say the right thing, whatever it is.
Oh, David, it's almost time for our son to be fed.
Do you want to do that first?
No. No. My legs are really getting stronger. Look, I can walk with no trouble at all.
Just stay a moment, Claudia. Not too long.
I'll stay as long as I have to. Stand back, darling. I don't want to see you. David, wish me luck.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. I thought this was my room.
That's all right.
Oh, isn't this a lovely room? You can see the river from this window.
Yes, you can.
Would you mind if I looked out a little? It's such a beautiful view.
No, go right ahead. It's been wasted on me. I don't pay much attention to it.
It's as if the whole world was stretching out at your feet. Oh, I guess I better introduce myself. I'm Mrs. Norton. My room is right next to yours. There's a building between me and the river.
There's always something between people and what they want.
Have you been here long?
A week?
Oh, me too. Well, then you'll be going home soon.
Yes, I'll be going home soon.
I can't wait.
Doesn't make much difference to me.
Oh, I'll bet it makes a lot of difference to your husband.
It's not important.
Oh, you're wrong there. It's terribly important. Well, it must be, or what's the use of trying?
What's the use of anything? What's the reason for anything? If babies live, it's only to find out there's no reason to it. None at all.
You mustn't talk or even think like this. Of course there's a reason.
What's the reason?
I don't know, but I don't think we have to know. There's so much to life. There's so much love in it, even without babies. After all, before we had them, we loved and we lived, and we're going to for a lot longer.
I don't feel any love.
But that's not right. None of us are allowed to deprive those who love us of their privilege to be loved in return. It's our great responsibility.
There are too many responsibilities. I feel too tired.
Maybe you feel too sorry for yourself. I don't blame you. What's happened to you is terrible. I'm grateful it didn't happen to me, but if it had, I'd still have David, and I'd have to try to keep right on going, too.
But why should it have happened to me? He could have been such a beautiful baby. I could have had a son now.
But you didn't. Are you going to call it quits so easily?
I'm tired.
I'm sorry. Maybe I'd better go now.
You can stay if you want to look at the river.
No, I'd better go. It's time my son had his bottle.
Your son had his bottle. Your son.
May I come to see you again?
Why not?
Well, darling?
She doesn't want to help herself, David. Dr. Rowland was right.
Well, come on back to your room and to bed. You've done enough.
Nobody's done enough until they've helped.
The baby's in your room, waiting to be fed.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be so good to hold him. David, bring him to me, would you?
But, darling, you look tired. I think you ought to get back into bed.
David, bring him to me, please.
Are you sure?
Just might work.
I think he's asleep.
He'll wake up. I hope he feels like having a good cry.
Here you are. Here he is.
I can hold him. Oh, he's so small. David, keep your fingers crossed. Hello? It's me again. I wonder if you can help me.
Help you?
My nurses had to go down the hall, and I feel sort of dizzy. It's time my baby had his bottle, and I just don't think I can handle it. Would you help?
You want me to give his bottle to him?
Oh, would you please? I need your help. He's crying, and I just can't do anything for him. Maybe you can.
It's quite a strong little cry, isn't it?
Yes, he's quite strong. He's quite heavy, too.
You're looking pale. You better give him to me.
Do you mind terribly? I hate to ask you, but I just haven't the strength.
Here, quickly. Put him in my arms.
There he is.
Oh, he's so very little. Here, I'll prop him up on the pillow. And we can just rest him on it. Now, here we are. Now, give me his bottle.
Here it is. This is awfully brave of you. I just don't know how to thank you.
Look. He's taking his bottle very well.
He is, isn't he?
Uh-huh. I think he's going to fall asleep on it. Oh, what a baby he is. Come on, wake up. Wake up, baby. Wake up. Come on, take your bottle.
Would you mind terribly if I just left him here with you? I just can't wait to get back to bed.
No, go right ahead. We're getting along fine. Your son and I. Come on, take some more. I think your son and I are going to be great friends.
Yes, I think you are.
Yeah, you run along now to your room. Don't worry about anything. I'll call the nurse when he's finished. Come on.
Oh, thank you. I won't worry about a thing anymore. Not a thing.
Well, darling?
Yes, darling. David, I guess babies can explain life maybe better than anybody else.
Oh, it's amazing to think that little thing could explain anything. Do you think he's safe?
He's safe. And so is she safe, too. Oh, David, I told you that his 6 o'clock bottle was the crowning of the day.
And you wouldn't give it up for $1 million.
What's $1 million?
How much less work there is to housekeeping today than there was years ago. We're less formal. We make fewer demands in the way of hospitality. The popular hostess of today brings out a tray of ice-cold Coca-Cola, and her guests drink it from the bottle with pleasure. They like the fact that this delicious refreshment has cost their hostess no trouble. They enjoy the pause that refreshes. It makes them feel at home, which you'll agree is the first rule of gracious hospitality.
Well, Mr. King, my hunch about Claudia was right.
Indeed it was, Doctor.
Yeah, she turned the trick. Mrs. Godwin didn't need a doctor. She needed what only a woman with Claudia's innate wisdom could give her.
You know, it's a strange thing about Claudia, how quickly she's able to learn without experiencing first.
It'll stand her in good stead.
I think particularly tomorrow when Claudia hears for the first time the story of Fogarty Fagan.
Fogarty Fagan. That's a familiar name.
And a great name, too.
A war hero, wasn't he?
Well, I'll answer that question, but no others, Dr. Rowland. Yes, he was a war hero. But if you want to hear his story, drop in tomorrow.
I certainly will. So long, Joe.
Bye. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere.
And you'll hear that story on our next Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on Saturday. Claudia from 76 years ago, July 12th, 1948. Tomorrow on the podcast, we will have Barry Craig confidential investigator William Gargan, Nick Carter, Master Detective, starring Lon Clark, a pair of yours truly Johnny Dollar exploits, one from 1950 starring Edmund O'Brien, and one from 1958 starring Bob Bailey, and of course that episode of Claudia. Thank you so much for joining us, and visit the webpage at classicradio.stream. For Classic Radio Theater, I'm still Wyatt Cox.